also imperishable time, and a dispenser whose face is turned on all sides. Shri Krishna says that of letters, the letter A is his vibhuti, his divine manifestation. The spiritual meaning of akshar, letter, is that which can never be destroyed. Sharam na yati iti akshara. Of these, it is said by scholars of the Sanskrit language that the letter A is a form of Vasudev, Lord Vishnu, Vasudev, Ataro Vasudeva Syat. Therefore, those who can never be destroyed, Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Soul, is the vibhuti, the divine manifestation of the Supreme Soul. This is the first thing. But if we want to look at it from a very rational level, then when we are learning at school, at the very beginning, then those who have studied in their mother tongue will know, and ask fortunate people bow down to those who are not able to, that whatever language there are vowels, in any language there are vowels and consonants. Whenever any vowel and consonant has the letter A placed in front of them, then they become complete. I remember something in Gujarati grammar when I was at Gujarati school. The Gujarati alphabet begins with the letter Ga. And Ga, letter K I should say, and K is incomplete, so you put a sign of incompleteness underneath the K. Then you put the letter A next to the K to make the letter Ka, complete and proper. The letter K is incomplete, but the letter A makes it complete so that Ka is proper. If they do not get the letter A, then all letters are incomplete. Therefore, what gives completeness to all these letters is a letter A. If there is no letter A next to the letters, then you cannot pronounce those letters. That is why God says that the letter A is his vibhuti, his divine manifestation. If we wish to understand this next in its spiritual meaning, then I said earlier that it is said by scholars of Sanskrit language that the letter A is a form of Vasudev, Lord Vishnu, Akaro Vasudeva Syat. Therefore, whatever we may be, if we have not attained the letter A in the form of Vasudev, Lord Vishnu, then you are and we are all incomplete. Chaganlal is incomplete, but Vasudev, Lord Vishnu, makes Chaganlal complete and proper, otherwise Chaganlal on his own will be incomplete. Maganlal is incomplete, but Vasudev, Lord Vishnu, makes Maganlal complete and proper, otherwise Maganlal on his own will have no meaning and will be incomplete. The letter A is a form of Vasudev, Lord Vishnu, Akaro Vasudeva Syat. In the Avya Brahmin, it is clearly said that the letter A is complete speech, and complete speech is the form of the letter A, Akaro Vai Sarvakak. This is because if the letter A is not there, then the letter or the word cannot be complete. If you even look at the word akshar, letter, it begins with the letter A. I am not playing with words, but if I were to stay faithful to Rama, then I would say that Shri Krishna is saying this verse, that his vibhuti, divine manifestation, is the letter A in akshar, letter. If the letter A was removed from the word akshar, letter, what would happen? The word would become shar, meaning destroyable. Then how does the akshar, letter, become undestroyable? It's because of the letter A and because Vasudev, Lord Vishnu. Otherwise, if the letter A were removed from the word akshar, then it becomes shar, meaning destroyable. The Supreme Soul is one without whom life would become destroyed. The Supreme Soul is one without whom life would become destroyable. And the Supreme Soul is one without whom a life will not remain alive. This is why this body, these arms, these feet, these beautiful eyes, these beautiful ears, this beautiful hair, this beautiful skin, etc. is not you. The Supreme Truth residing inside that is you, because if it goes out, then all the above things will become useless. That is why Shri Krishna says in this way that the letter A is his vibhuti, his divine manifestation. One should not only take the literal meaning of the words that the letter A is Lord's vibhuti, divine manifestation. A person did this. A person did this once. He thought it was very good, and he must have had a lot of feelings, but for each and every vibhuti, divine manifestation, that God has shown in the 10th chapter, he gathered pictures of all these vibhuti, divine manifestations, and worshipped them. Therefore, when Shri Krishna says in this verse that of akshar, letters, is a letter A, is his vibhuti, his divine manifestation, what the person did is that he wrote the letter A in big font and he framed it. He would then apply the million to it and offer garlands to it every day, so that the letter A is God's vibhuti, his divine manifestation. Because Shri Krishna says that of those who have weapons, I am Ram, this person will worship Ram. Because Shri Krishna says that of the serpents, I am Vasuki, this person will get a picture of Vasuki and worship this. Because Shri Krishna says of snakes, I am Ananta, this person will get a picture of Ananta and worship that. This is a very good thing. It gathered a very nice collection for each and every vibhuti, divine manifestations that Shri Krishna described in this 10th chapter. This person either drew pictures of them or had pictures made of them and would worship them every day, saying that for each and every vibhuti, divine manifestation that God has described in this 10th chapter of the Gita, I am worshipping them. Therefore, for this vibhuti, divine manifestation of the letter A, he wrote the letter A on a piece of paper and framed it. I do not want to make fun of his feelings, but the vibhuti, divine manifestation, is not just the letter A, it is much deeper than that. The Lord says that of Akshar letters, the letter A is his vibhuti, his divine manifestation. The toys and ashes were placed that were playing by our Lord Sri Ram. Thank you very much. Shri Krishna says that of Akshar letters, the letter A is his vibhuti, his divine manifestation. Then, the Lord then says that of Samas, compounds, he is the one, the dual. You have to learn a little bit of grammar from this verse. And if you learnt this already, you will refresh our learning. We study compounds. Again, those who have studied it will know, and I bow down to the rest of the great souls who have not studied it and who do not know what a compound is. There are 4 main compounds in Sanskrit, and as a consequence, in all those languages that come from Sanskrit, such as Hindi, Gujarati, Marathi, it's the exact same. There are 4 main compounds. Samas compounds are when 2 pad means terms, when 2 terms come together to make one word, then a samas compound is formed. There are 2 pad terms in a samas compounds. The first is the purvapad, which is a former term, and then the uttarpad, the latter term. The majority of words are like this. There are 4 main samas compounds in Sanskrit grammar. First, avyay-bhav, which is determinative. Number 2, tatpurusha, which is the possessive. Number 3, bahuvrihi, which is the descriptive. And number 4, dvanda, the dual. So the 4 types of samas compounds in Sanskrit grammar are avyay-bhav, the determinative, tatpurusha, the possessive, bahuvrihi, the descriptive, and dvandva, dual. There are many other samas compounds, such as madhyam padalokti samas, a compound where the middle word goes away, etc. There are many. The word agdadi, which means fire brigade, is a madhyam padalokti samas, a compound where the middle word is understood, because it has both a purvapad, a former term, that is ag, meaning fire, and an uttarpad, a latter term, which is gadi, meaning brigade. So agadi, fire brigade. But that gadi, brigade, which goes towards ag, fire, is an agadi, a fire brigade. The pad term in the middle went away, and therefore the ag, the fire, and the gadi brigade come together, and it's an agadi, fire brigade, which is a madhyam padalokti samas, a compound of the middle word goes away. There are so many words, and grammar itself is a very interesting field. There are 4 main samas compounds. What happens in them is that a samas compound does not just come when 2 pad terms, when there's, which is a purvapad, a former term, and an uttarpad, a latter term, joined together. The first samas compounds, which are avyay-bhav, determinative compounds, the meaning of the purvapad, the former term, is more important. And great saints are talking about this first, and they give the example of avyay-bhav determinative as the word adihari, which means in hurry. Adihari, in hurry. The meaning of the word adi is in. Therefore, what came first, and that was most important, is the word adi. The most important, this is the most important in avyay-bhav, samas, determinative compounds. The former term is more important. The second type of samas compounds is the tatpurusha, the possessive compound. In the tatpurusha samas, possessive compounds, the uttarpad, the latter term, is more important than the former term. The second term that comes is more important. There are many examples of tatpurusha samas, possessive compounds, such as sitapati, which means the husband of Sita. These have a sense of belonging. Here, the purvapad, the former term, is Sita, and uttarpad, the latter term, is Pati Ram. The uttarpad latter term is more important here because Sitapati, the husband of Sita, is trying to talk about Ram, who is the husband of Sita. Where does this meaning come from? When one says Sitapati, the husband of Sita, then immediately the thought comes to our mind, that is Ram. Therefore, because of the word Sitapati, the husband of Sita, takes us towards Ram, the term of Pati, husband, becomes more important because there can be Sitapati, the father of Sita, Sitapita, the father of Sita, Sitavrata, the brother of Sita, Sita Sakshi, the friend of Sita, and many other words. And if the uttarpad, the latter term, keeps changing, then the meaning keeps changing. Sita will remain the same. But if the uttarpad, the latter term, keeps changing, then the meaning changes with it. That is why when one says Sitapati, the husband of Sita, then they want to talk about Ram, who is the husband of Sita. Therefore, in tatpurusha samas, the possessive compounds, the uttarpad, the latter term, is more important. The third type of compound, samas, is the bahuvrihi, the descriptive. Bahuvrihi samas, descriptive compounds, are such that neither the purvapad, the former term, nor the uttarpad, the latter term, are important, but a third pad, which they both are dependent on it, is important, and they're trying to show a third pad, a third term. This is called a bahuvrihi, a descriptive compound. For example, we can say the word pitambaraha, which means one who wears yellow garments in Sanskrit. When one says the word Pitambara, one who has yellow garments, then one gets a thought in the mind of Shri Krishna, who is Pitambara, one who wears yellow garments. The word Pitambara, one who wears yellow garments, has two terms, Pita, yellow, and Ambara, garments. But when both these words come together, then neither Pita, yellow, has importance, nor does Ambara, garments. Both words are trying to say a third thing, Shri Krishna or Mohan. This is called Bodhi Samas, a descriptive compounds. One whose Ambara garments are Pita, yellow, is Pitambara, one who has yellow garments, which is Shri Krishna. Pita, Ambar, Yasya, Sa, Pitambara. Therefore, in Adibhav, which is determinative compounds, the meaning of the Purvapad, the former term, is more important. In Tatpurusha Samas, possessive compounds, the Uttapad, the latter term, is more important. And in Bodhi Samas, descriptive compounds, neither the Purvapad, the fourth term, nor the Uttapad, the last term, are important. The third pad term, which they are both dependent on, is important. There is a small example that I remember when it comes to talking about Samas compounds. Sri Ramchandraji had found out that Ravana had kidnapped Sitaji. They had to cross the sea to reach Lanka to fight the battle. They had to build a bridge. Before building the bridge, Sri Ramchandraji performed the worship of Shivji and made a Shivling out of the sand. There's an idol of Shivji there. Life was being infused into the idol. Whenever life gets infused into any idol, some rituals need to be followed. When wise Brahmins are performing rituals, then when life is being infused into an idol, the person who are the hosts for infusing life into the idol are asked what name they wish to give up to the idol they are infusing life into. You see that each and every idol has different name. There is only one Hanumanji, but there can be Sankat Mochan Hanuman, Hanuman who is the remover of difficulties. There can be different names. I saw in one place that there was Diya Hanuman, which means Hanuman who bestows money. Now, there can be many different types of Hanuman. There are many different types of names of each idol. For example, for Ganeshi, there's Siddhi Vinayak Ganpati, Ganeshi who bestows success. There are many different types. Many different particular names come with Ganesh. The right use this name goes to the person sitting and hosting the ceremony to infusing life into the idol. When the acharyas are performing the worship ceremony, then ask what name you wish to give to the idol. This is also asked to Sri Ramchandraji. Sri Ramchandraji was sitting there while the ceremony of infusing life into the idol of Shiva was taking place. Sri Ramchandraji said that we should give him the name of Rameshvara. It became a Jyotirlinga, one of the 12 pillars of light that were shrines where Shivji is worshipped. Sri Ramchandraji gave him the name of Rameshvara. Setu Vandetu Ramesham. They asked Sri Ramchandraji whether there was any reason why he named him Rameshvara. Sri Ramchandraji said yes. He said, he is my Ishtadev, my personal God. The very beautiful thing in Ramayana, that the Ishtadev, the personal God of Sri Ramchandraji, is Shivji, and the Ishtadev, the personal God of Shivji, is Sri Ramchandraji. Shivji worshipped Ram, and Ram worshipped Shivji. One who is the Ishtadev, the personal God of Ram, is Rameshvara. Amasya Eshvara Rameshvarasya. This is the Tatpurusha Samas, the possessive compound. We saw earlier that with Tatpurusha Samas, the possessive compounds, the Uttarpad, the latter term, is more important. Here, not Ram, but Ishwar, Lord of Ram, is more important. Rameshvara is the Ishtadev, the personal God and Lord of Ram. With Tatpurusha Samas, possessive compounds, the Uttarpad, the latter term, is more important. Sri Ramchandraji therefore gave the reason why he was named the idol of Shivji as Rameshvara. This reached Shivji because somebody told Shivji, Sri Ramchandraji has worshipped you before building the bridge, and at that moment he gave you the name Rameshvara. And when they asked Sri Ramchandraji why he was naming you Rameshvara, Sri Ramchandraji said that is because you are his Lord and his Ishtadev, his personal God. That is why Sri Ramchandraji named you Rameshvara. Shivji, with a lot of naturalness, began laughing out loud and said that this is the grace of my Ishtadev, my personal God. Now Shivji, why he said this? Shivji said that Ram is my Ishtadev, my personal God. How can I be his Lord? He is my Lord. He is given the right name Rameshvara, but you did not understand the meaning of Rameshvara as one whose Ishwar Lord is Ram. Ramaho Ishvara Rasya Saha Rameshvara. This is Shivji. Therefore, Rameshvara is one whose Ishwar Lord is Ram. Who is this? This is Shivji. Therefore, neither the Purvapad, the former term of Ram, nor the Uttarpad, the latter term, is important, or Vishwa is important, but third term, Shivji, is important. This is because of Bodhi Samas, a descriptive compound. Shri Krishna says that the fourth Samar compound, which is Dvanda Samas, the dual compound, is his vibhuti, his divine manifestation. The special thing about the Dvanda Samas, the dual compound, is that both the Purvapad, the former term, and the Uttarpad, the latter term, are important. In Adhibhav determinative compounds, the meaning of the Purvapad, the former term, is more important. In Tatpurusha Samas, the possessive compounds, the Uttarpad, the latter term, is more important. And in Doldi Samas, the descriptive compounds, neither the Purvapad, the full term, nor the Uttarpad, the latter term, are more important. The third pad term, which they are both dependent on, is important. But the special quality about Dvandva Samas, dual compounds, is that both the Purvapad, the former term, and the Uttarpad, the latter term, are important. For example, when Rama Lakshmana was said, then Rama Lakshmana became a Sama, a compound. It is because it became a Dvandva Sama, the dual compound. Rama Lakshmana gives importance to both Ram and Lakshman. Ramasya Lakshmanasya Rama Lakshmano. Similarly, if we say Sitaram, this is a Dvandva Samas, the dual compound, because we have the Purvapad, the former term of Sita, and the Uttarpad, latter term of Ram. Neither of these pad terms are less important than the other. Both pad terms are just as important. That is why Shri Krishna says that of the Dvandva Samas, the dual compound, of the Samas compounds, the Dvandva Samas, the dual compound is his Vibhuti, his divine manifestation. If I were to say the spiritual meaning of this, then that from which life begins, that from which life is running, and that which we call life is in reality a Dvandva Samas, a dual compound. The individual soul and the supreme soul. Both of these become one. The individual soul, with its feeling of remembrance that, Lord, I am nothing without you, and God will always say that, oh individual soul, you alone are also important. This is a Dvandva Samas, a dual compound that is life. The individual soul brings his karmas, and the supreme soul gives a part for himself, and then the life begins. Both are important. That is why Shri Krishna says that of the Samas compounds, Dvandva Samas, dual compound, is his Vibhuti, his divine manifestation. Shri Krishna then says that he is also imperishable time, and the creator whose face is turned on all sides. The word Akshaya is used meaning that which never perishes, and that which can never be destroyed. Such a time is the Lord's Vibhuti, divine manifestation. Remember in the 30th verse of the 10th chapter, Shri Krishna said, Kala Kala Yatam Aham, of calculators I am time. At that time, I said that the Lord is saying that his Vibhuti's divine manifestation is time out of the following calculations. Kalpa, cycles, Yug, ages, Varsh, years, Ayam, which are solstices. 1 year has 2 solstices, the northern solstice and southern solstice. Months, Amas, which are the fortnights of the moon. Days, 1 cycle of the clock, which is 12 hours. Moments, hours, minutes, seconds, microseconds, etc. Here God is saying, Am eva akshaya kalo, I am also imperishable time. Is this time different from the time mentioned in the 30th verse? Yes, it is different from the time that's mentioned in the 30th verse, because the meaning of the time mentioned in the 30th verse was represented of the period of time, whereas time mentioned in this verse is time that is a symbol of the imperishable, the undestroyable, the eternal, the perpetual, the beginningless, unending and everlasting Supreme Brahman. The calculations of time such as years, months, fortnights, days, minutes, seconds, etc. all gets destroyed when the Mahapralaya, the annihilation of the world comes, and no years remain, no days remain, no seconds remain, and everything gets destroyed. But there is a time that is beyond all of that, which is the ultimate truth itself, and this never gets destroyed. Despite the annihilation coming, that which never gets destroyed is Shri Krishna's Vibhuti, his divine manifestation. Shri Krishna also says that he is the dispenser whose face is turned on all sides. Shankaracharya says in his commentary that this part of the verse means that the Lord gives the fruits of karmas to the whole world. Tata aham karma phalasya vidata sarva jakata vishvata mukha svata mukha. And that is why the word Tata is used. God clarified why he is the dispenser. Why is this? There is a reason behind this. Because his face is turned on all sides. His face is everywhere and his eyes are everywhere. Therefore nothing remains hidden from the eyes of the Lord. Whoever needs something in certain circumstances at any time, that thing will reach him in that circumstance at that time. This is the dispenser whose face is turned on all sides. This teaches us to be alert that God looks after everyone. Not only that, but whoever God feels right to give a thing to, he gives a thing to them. Just because whenever I say this last sentence, people get questions in their minds that, well, we have a need for many things, but we have not got it yet. He said that whoever needs something in certain circumstances, at any time that thing will reach him in that circumstance at that time, but when do we get it? We have such a long list, but a dispenser is one who decides himself. If there are 3 sons in a house and the mother decides which son wants what, the son does not decide. Even if one of the sons is aged 7, the son is saying, I want to take the cycle on a highway, the mother says, no, you will not get it. However, the mother lets the son aged 15 take the cycle on a highway saying, son, you may take it there. The younger son, age 7, says that his mother does not let him take the cycle on the highway, but it is because the younger son, age 7, does not have the qualification to take the cycle on the highway. That is why his mother is not giving the cycle to him. When this same son will be age 15 and will have more understanding, then he will also get the cycle. The mother decides which son it is his right to give it to, and it is not as if the son can just ask and get it. In the same way, in this world, God decides what you want in reality. That is why Shri Krishna says that he is the dispenser whose face is turned on all sides. One who has faith on the system of the Supreme Soul, such a person never has any complaints left towards life. If the Gita teaches something, then it is to know this. There are two aspects to this. The first aspect describes the greatness of the Supreme Soul, that the Lord does all this. Fine, but we should not stop while describing the greatness of the Supreme Soul. How does the greatness of the Supreme Soul touch you? All my actions in life. Why do I keep having complaints in each and every moment in life? When you have this attitude, then remember that the Supreme Soul is the dispenser whose face is turned on all sides. The faces of the Supreme Soul on all four sides, and the eyes of the Supreme Soul are on all four sides. That is why whatever Hari God thinks is right will be given to the person. Our Nasameta says, Jitu Shidne Chinta Kare, Krishna ne karvu hoy tikare. Individual soul, you worry and jump up and down, but Lord Krishna does what he wishes to do. This is the meaning of what Shri Krishna is saying in this verse, that I am the dispenser whose face is turned on all sides. No matter how much you jump up and down or fall down, ultimately, Shri Krishna does what he wishes to do. Why are you jumping up and down then? I do not intend to say that you should not make efforts. You must make efforts, but one does not jump up and down for the efforts, one jumps up and down for consequences. We feel as if we are jumping up and down for the efforts, but it's incorrect. We're jumping up and down because of the consequences. If one did not get the consequences, then how many people would bother making efforts? One should make full and complete efforts, but one should stop worrying about the consequences. This is why Shri Krishna said that he is the dispenser whose face is turned on all sides. Okay.